Something inside you knows it's time. You've been carrying the same weight for too long, moving through the same cycles that keep repeating, no matter how hard you try to break them. Maybe it's the way you wake up each morning with that quiet voice reminding you that you were meant for more. Maybe it's the way your relationships seem to follow the same patterns, no matter how many times you try to shift them. Maybe it's the way your career or your goals never seem to match the energy you pour into them. On the surface, it looks like progress, a new job, a new plan, a new intention. But deep down, the feeling is always the same: restlessness. That constant sense that something is unfinished. That whisper you've tried to silence, the one that says you're not fully living the life you know you're capable of. And yet, here you are, watching this, listening to these words. That's not an accident, that's not random. This moment is the signal you've been waiting for, because what you've been sensing in your quiet moments is real. A shift is happening. The old version of you is running out of energy. The familiar story is dissolving. That life you kept repeating no longer has the power to hold you. Something else is breaking through, and it's stronger than your doubt. It's stronger than your excuses. It's stronger than the comfort zone that has been keeping you small. Here's the truth most people miss. When a new life begins, it doesn't arrive with trumpets. It doesn't come with a clear announcement or a perfect roadmap. It comes as tension. It comes as unease. It comes as that uncomfortable space where you feel caught between two worlds. You're not who you used to be, but you're not yet who you're becoming. That's why it feels disorienting. That's why you question yourself. That's why you wonder if you're stuck or even moving backward. But you're not stuck. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're in the exact place where transformation begins. Think about it. The moments that feel like chaos are the same moments that are full of hidden order. The times when you feel lost are the same times your energy is reorganizing itself. It's like standing between two radio stations, catching fragments of the old static and hints of a new frequency, but never fully settled on either. Most people retreat here. They run back to the familiar because it feels safer than the unknown. They mistake discomfort for danger, but that discomfort is not a warning. It's a signal that your life is bending toward a new reality. This is where the choice becomes everything. You can return to the same loops, replay the same patterns, tell yourself the same story that you've told 100 times before, or you can trust the pull. You can lean into the space between who you were and who you're becoming. You can trust that the unease is not there to punish you, but to prepare you. Every time you choose growth instead of retreat, you rewrite the code of your reality. Every time you choose to step forward instead of shrink back, you shift your energetic blueprint. That's not abstract. That's the mechanics of manifestation. And this is what most people get wrong about motivation. It's not about a hype speech that makes you feel unstoppable for one afternoon only to fade by morning. Real motivation is quieter. It's steadier. It's the constant reminder that you are capable of more than you've been living. It's the knowing that your old patterns are not permanent. It's the realization that the energy of creation itself is moving through you right now. Motivation in this sense isn't something you wait for. It's something you claim. Every day, every choice, every moment you decide that the discomfort you feel is not a setback, but evidence that you're on the edge of expansion. Personal growth begins right here, not in perfection, not in the polished image of who you think you should be. It begins in the mess, in the moments when you doubt yourself but keep going anyway, in the times when you feel like nothing is changing, but you keep trusting anyway. Growth is not about skipping over the hard parts. It's about letting the hard parts show you that you're already shifting. That the discomfort is proof you're no longer aligned with the smaller version of yourself. And when this shift begins, something else comes alive. Manifestation. Not the surface level kind that's about forcing results or chasing desires you don't even believe you deserve. I'm talking about quantum manifestation. The kind that starts when you realize your life is no longer aligned with what used to feel safe. The kind that begins the moment you recognize that you're ready for more, even if you don't yet know what that more looks like. You don't have to see the entire picture. You only have to recognize that something in you is expanding. That recognition alone is the first spark of creation. You being here right now is not coincidence. It's confirmation. It's evidence that your attention is being guided by something larger than your conscious mind. You're not lost. You're not late. You're right on time. This moment is part of the shift. The awareness that you are standing on the threshold is the beginning of your new life. And the only question now is whether you'll trust it enough to step forward. Once you start noticing the tension between the old and the new, life begins to send you signals. Not the kind of signals that appear as dramatic events right away, but the subtle nudges, the repeated patterns, the quiet echoes that remind you something is shifting. Have you ever noticed how once you start thinking about a new possibility, the universe begins to mirror it back to you in small, almost playful ways? You hear a phrase from a stranger that feels like it was spoken directly to you. You open a book and land on a page that carries the exact message you needed. You scroll through a video, and it feels like the timing is too perfect to be random. At first, you might dismiss these as coincidences, but the truth is that they are confirmations. They are reflections of your expanding awareness. This is how quantum manifestation actually begins, not with force, not with obsession, but with coherence. The more your inner state shifts, the more the outer world begins to mirror that shift back to you. When your awareness opens to new possibilities, the field around you reorganizes. The signals start small, but they grow louder the more you pay attention. Most people ignore them. They dismiss the synchronicities as imagination. But when you learn to see them for what they are, you realize they are not random. They are proof. They are your new life showing itself to you in real time. This is where choice becomes sacred, because every time a signal shows up, you're being invited to decide whether you'll trust it or dismiss it. The moment you feel that pull, you either lean into expansion or retreat back into the old story. Most people retreat because expansion feels risky, but here what changes everything. The universe never punishes you for choosing safety. It never shuts the door on your growth. It simply waits. It waits patiently, and then it offers the invitation again, and again and again, until you're ready to trust the signal. Think about your own life. How many times have you been offered the chance to grow but turned it down because it didn't feel convenient or comfortable? How many times did the lesson return, sometimes with more intensity, until you finally chose differently? That's not failure. That's life showing you how evolution works. Growth is not a straight line. It is a spiral. You return to the same themes over and over, but each time from a higher vantage point. Each time, the choice to trust becomes clearer. Each time, the invitation becomes louder. This is why awareness is everything. When you recognize the signals, when you notice the synchronicities, you step into your power as a conscious creator. You stop waiting for change to crash into your life, and you start recognizing that it's already here. The discomfort you feel, the coincidences you notice, the patterns that repeat are not accidents. They are the mechanics of manifestation unfolding through your awareness. They are reminders that you are not separate from the intelligence of the universe. You are that intelligence, recognizing itself through the details of your own life. But here's the part most people resist. For new realities to take root, there has to be space for them. You can't keep holding on to the same draining habits, the same limiting beliefs, the same relationships that pull you back into the old frequency and expect to stabilize in a new reality. Creation requires space, and space requires release. This is where the real work begins because letting go is rarely easy. The familiar feels safer, even when it keeps you stuck. But the moment you release what no longer serves you, you collapse into a new possibility. That's not theory. That's the way consciousness reorganizes itself. Think of nature. A seed doesn't grow by clinging to its shell. It grows by dissolving it. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by holding on to the body it once knew. It dissolves into a form that looks like nothing before it reorganizes into wings. The same principle applies to you. The version of yourself that carried you this far cannot carry you into the new life that's calling you. That's why the release feels like death at times, like loss, like uncertainty. But it's not the end. It's the space where your new life can land. This is the turning point. Will you release the patterns that have kept you small, or will you grip them tighter because they feel familiar? Will you trust that what feels uncomfortable now is actually the first evidence of your expansion? Or will you retreat into the illusion of safety that's been holding you in place for years? Every time you choose release, you strengthen your connection to the new reality. Every time you choose trust, you amplify the field of possibilities that are waiting to collapse into your experience. This is the quantum choice. This is the moment your new life confirms itself through you. Now that you've begun to notice the signals, the question becomes, how do you stabilize them? How do you move from glimpses of transformation into a life that feels consistently new? This is where awareness shifts from something abstract into something practical. Because the truth is, transformation doesn't just happen once. It's not a single moment of clarity that instantly rewrites your entire existence. Transformation is a process. It's the constant reorganization of your inner state, which gradually reshapes the outer world around you. And the more consistent you become with this awareness, the faster your new reality stabilizes. One of the most powerful practices you can develop is what I call quantum awareness. It's the ability to notice your thoughts, emotions, and sensations without automatically identifying with them. Most people live as if they are their thoughts. A stressful thought appears, and instantly they say, "This is me." A doubt shows up, and instantly they believe it. An old story resurfaces, and they fall into it without even questioning whether it's still true. But the moment you learn to observe instead of merge, everything changes. You start to see that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which those thoughts appear. You are not your fear. You are the space in which fear arises and dissolves. This shift is small, but it is the doorway to freedom. Try this right now. Notice whatever thought is moving through your mind. Instead of reacting to it or following it, imagine watching it drift by like a cloud. Notice any emotion present in your body. Instead of being that emotion, feel it as an energy pattern moving through your field. Notice the sensations you feel, the pressure, the tension, the restlessness, but don't claim them as your identity. Just notice them as movements inside awareness. The more often you practice this, the more distance you create between who you truly are and the patterns that have been running your life. That distance is where choice appears, and choice is where transformation becomes real. Because here's what happens. When you stop fusing with every thought, every doubt, every story, you begin to choose differently. Instead of collapsing into the old frequency, you redirect your energy into new possibilities. That's why awareness isn't passive. It's active. It's not just watching. It's choosing. It's deciding which signals to amplify and which ones to let dissolve. And over time, this is what reconfigures your entire field. The old patterns weaken. The new patterns stabilize. The chaos calms down. And suddenly, you're not chasing change anymore. You're living it. But let's be honest. This is not easy at first, because the old self is persistent. It shows up in familiar habits, in the same emotional loops, in the same automatic reactions that have been rehearsed for years. You decide to respond with patience, and suddenly the old frustration rises again. You decide to trust your intuition, but you find yourself second-guessing every impulse. You set a goal, but by morning, the doubt is louder than the vision. This is where most people quit. They mistake resistance for failure. But what they don't realize is that resistance is evidence that change is happening. The brain itself creates more chaos before breakthrough moments. Old neural patterns destabilize before new ones can take hold. The discomfort is not proof that you're stuck. It's proof that you're expanding. This is why consistency matters, not perfection, not a flawless daily practice that looks impressive on the outside. Consistency. Small, steady choices that anchor the new reality into your nervous system. Choosing presence over distraction. Choosing courage over retreat. Choosing trust over doubt. These are not dramatic gestures. They are quiet decisions that build momentum. And momentum is what carries you forward when the old self tries to pull you back. Every consistent choice is a signal to your field. A signal that says, this is who I am now. This is the frequency I'm stabilizing. This is the reality I'm choosing. Think about how a musician tunes an instrument. They don't strike one note and assume it's perfect forever. They keep adjusting. They keep listening. They keep refining. Your awareness works the same way. Every choice is a tuning. Every practice is an adjustment. Every moment of presence is a refinement. And the more you return to it, the clearer your frequency becomes. Eventually, it stops feeling like effort. It becomes natural. It becomes automatic. The old self no longer runs the show. The new awareness does. And this is where quantum manifestation begins to feel undeniable. Because as your inner field stabilizes, your outer world rearranges itself to match. Opportunities appear that you couldn't have planned. Relationships shift to reflect your new energy. Resources show up at the exact moment you need them. You realize that you don't have to control everything through force. You don't have to chase outcomes. You only have to remain coherent with the reality you're choosing. And life organizes itself around that choice. This is the truth of creation. You don't manifest by forcing the universe to obey your will. You manifest by aligning with the frequency of what you desire and then letting the field mirror it back to you. That's why motivation is so important here. Not because it makes you feel powerful for a moment, but because it reminds you daily that you are not powerless. It reminds you daily that you are already shifting. It reminds you daily that every small choice matters. And when you string those choices together, you create momentum that no old pattern can hold back. This is the heart of growth, not waiting for a perfect moment, not waiting for the fear to disappear, but moving anyway, trusting anyway, choosing anyway. Because every choice is a declaration. Every choice is a message to the quantum field that says, I am no longer available for the life I used to live. I am ready for the life I am becoming. And when you live from that declaration consistently, the universe has no choice but to reflect it back. By now you've felt it, the tension, the signals, the pull toward something greater than the life you've been living. You've recognized the patterns that kept looping, the habits that drained your energy, the stories that no longer fit who you are becoming. And you've realized that this moment isn't about waiting for a perfect set of circumstances to finally arrive. This moment is the evidence. This moment is the beginning. The fact that you are here, still listening, still leaning in, is proof that your awareness has already stepped into a new frequency. This is what most people miss. They keep waiting for their new life to appear as something external. The dream job, the relationship, the money, the recognition. They think transformation is measured only by what they can touch. But your new life doesn't start out there. It starts in here. It starts with the way you notice the signals instead of ignoring them. It starts with the way you choose courage over retreat. It starts with the way you create space for what wants to grow, even when letting go feels uncomfortable. And the more you practice, the more the outer world cannot help but reflect that change. Because the external is always the mirror of the internal. So here's the truth. Your new life is not waiting for you in the distance. It is here. It is alive in every choice you make, every thought you release, every moment of trust you allow. The field around you is responding right now to your awareness. And that response will continue to grow stronger the more consistent you become with it. This is not about perfection. This is not about never doubting or never slipping. This is about coherence. The more you return to the frequency of expansion, the more that frequency becomes natural. Until eventually, what once felt like effort becomes who you are. And this is where everything changes. Because once your awareness stabilizes, life begins to organize itself around you in ways you could not have planned. The right opportunities show up at the exact time you need them. The right people appear and align with your energy. The challenges that once felt impossible reveal themselves as preparation, as training for what was coming. You realize that nothing was wasted. Every setback was shaping you. Every delay was preparing you. Every ending was creating space for a new beginning. This is what happens when you live from the recognition that the universe is not against you. It is you, and it is always guiding you back to your expansion. So the choice now is simple. Will you continue shrinking into the patterns that no longer fit, or will you trust the space that has opened before you? Will you cling to the comfort of the familiar, or will you trust the pull of the unknown? Because the unknown isn't empty. The unknown is possibility. The unknown is creation. The unknown is the space where your new life is already waiting. And every moment you choose trust over fear, you collapse into that new reality. Every moment you say yes to growth, you collapse into the timeline of expansion. Every moment you release what no longer serves you, you make space for what has been waiting to arrive. Take this in now. Your new life doesn't start tomorrow. It doesn't start when you feel ready. It doesn't start when all the conditions align. It starts here. It starts now. It starts with the recognition that you are no longer who you used to be and you never will be again. That recognition is enough. That awareness is the spark. And the more you trust it, the more undeniable it becomes. This is not a coincidence. This is not random. This is your awareness reorganizing itself. This is the universe confirming what you've always known. This is your new life beginning. So as you step forward, let this be your reminder. You are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not behind. You are expanding. You are reorganizing. You are aligning. And life itself is responding. Every signal, every synchronicity, every whisper of possibility is evidence that you are in the middle of your own becoming. And the only thing left to do is to trust it, to trust yourself, to trust that the discomfort is not an ending but a beginning. To trust that the new life you've been waiting for is already here, appearing through every choice you make from this moment on. Welcome to it. This is where your new chapter begins. This is where the old story fades. This is where the version of you that has been waiting finally steps forward. Your new life has started, and it's only just beginning to show you what's possible.